check. Daily Riff from Marv. Quarantine Hangs, episode 10, and we got a big one today. Pretty excited, pretty stoked about it. I've been thinking about it actually for a little while now because we've had some stuff coming down the pipeline, just waiting for things to go live on the internet. So yeah, it's episode 10. And it's already episode 10. I feel like we just started doing this. I didn't actually think that we would keep doing this. This was kind of something I was playing around with in the beginning and didn't know for sure whether or not it was going to end up being a thing that we continue to do. But it's going so well, I think we're going to keep it up. I got to thank all the guests that we've had on to this point for making it possible. Dylan from The Wild, Kevin from Crownlands, Shauna from The Edge, Tom Bagley from the tour managing fame, Luke from the Dirty Nail, Mike Filer from the Tie Cats, Leon and Maddie from the Lazies, and Jason from Leckbird Enterprises, which brings us to today, which is Frank Ferrer from Guns and Fucking Roses. Thanks to Steve for lining that interview up and taking care of it. Takes the weight off me for today. Yeehaw. Yeah, a little change to the schedule. We are only doing straight to Facebook now. We're not going to YouTube anymore. So, yeah, I think are we having problems with the stream? And I'm trying it a different way this time. So I don't know if we're having issues with that. I'm just going to do a quick check on here, and then we're going to go to the Beartaker content. Oh yeah, I think it's doing okay. Sorry about this. Today it's a bit of a different vibe today. I'm trying to get some new technology up and running so we can schedule this stuff so you guys can see when it's coming up ahead of time on the Facebook page, and you can get it as a reminder, or you can set set an alert to have it come up when you want to watch the episodes. That's all. Okay, so yesterday and today it was a huge day for me and my bud Theo. We started a side project called Beartaker. So little information on the side project for now, which is that we are doing it just for fun. It's really just a thing that we're going to do as a recording project. There's no real plans to go and play shows or do anything like that. It's really just going to be a thing that we use to get some frustrations about the current situation out, whether that is what it's turned into now or what it was before. But basically, it's just a thing for us to have some fun with and record some albums for you guys to listen to. Nothing too crazy. So right now we're just going to debut the new music video that we got for the first single, although I don't think we'll be servicing any of this stuff to radio. It's a single called Get Out. It's a song. It was the last song that we wrote for the record. And yeah, we just feel like it's probably the funnest song on the album, so we decided to do a fun video for it. Even though I know a lot of the stuff comes off pretty angry, which it is, but we wanted to have fun with this one. So we're going to cue that now. Here we go. This is Get Out premiere music video, Beartaker. Hit it.
Break
that was fun. We did that right over there. We shot the video. We shot it on a couple iPhones with our bud Nick Ball, and I cut it together in Final Cut Pro. I had to dust the old video editing gloves off and get back into the grind of video editing, which, by the way, was a fucking pain in the ass because I have an old laptop and I was trying to get it down to. Done quick, but it fucked me. It took forever because my computer is so goddamn slow to render video. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that. The whole album is out now on Spotify and Apple Music. It'll be coming to Google Play Store soon. It's on Deezer for our France fans, and it's on Tidal for nobody because nobody fucking uses Tidal because it's ridiculous. But yeah. Glad you guys dug that. A huge thanks to Brando. Brando was the mastermind engineer who helped me and Theo record that album. Shout out to Jordan Gauthier at YC Drums for doing the drum teching and getting everything right on the drums. His drums sound fucking awesome if you can't tell. And a huge shout out to Rats, Eric Rats, our main homeboy who does all the Monster Truck stuff. He mixed that for me and it sounds great. And then Harry Hess over at Vespa, he mastered it. Thanks to everybody who helped contribute to the project. It was a lot of fun, and we're going to keep going. We're going to make lots more records. It's just going to be a thing that we rip out every now and then, a little EPs here and there just to have some fun. And yeah, that's about it. Oh, and do me a favor. It's up on, that video is now live on YouTube, on the Beartaker YouTube. I'll have a link for it at the end of the video. If you could go throw a subscribe over to the Beartaker YouTube page. I want to get that page monetized since we're going to be giving away all the music. It's really the only way we can have some bucks coming in to help support the project is by getting the monetization going on that YouTube page, and we can't do that till we have 1,000 subscribers. So subscribe to Beartaker. That's it. And a little bit more information quickly. Marv is doing a live stream tonight on the Bovine Instagram page with our bud Chuck Coles. Let me just get the information here. It's going to be on at Bovine Sex Club on Instagram. All ships rise with Chuck Coles. And Marv is going to be doing an interview and a live performance tonight at 9 p.m. on Instagram, Bovine Sex Club Instagram. Check that out. Live stream we're just live streaming on top of a live stream. God damn it! What else are you gonna do in this situation? How the fuck is everybody doing? Holy shit! Haven't even checked on you guys yet. It's been another week of the same shit, hasn't it? I don't even know. There's nothing that's been changing. I got nothing really to talk about this week. The interview's rather long with Frank, and it should be because he's got a lot to talk about. I'm gonna set that video up, and maybe I'll come back if I think of anything ranty or fun to say when the interview's over. Maybe I'll fill it in there. But other than that, I don't know, man. Enjoy the interview. It's great, Steve. Thanks to Steve. Thanks to Frank for setting this interview up. Hope you guys enjoy it. I'll be back afterwards to say goodbye for the day, and I'm just gonna bring you the interview right now. Doing a couple new things today. I'm getting used to it. Frank Ferrer from Guns N' Roses. Interview by Steve. Here we go.
Okay, what's up? My next guest, sitting right here, this beautiful man, born in Manhattan, New York. He is one of 3 kids. The only boy in the middle of 2 girls in a Latino household. I can't even imagine. Now living in the desert in Southern California. He came up playing in the 80s and the 90s in New York bands like The Beautiful, The Compulsions, and Love Spit Love. He is currently the longest serving drummer for this band you may have heard called Guns N' Roses. Not a big deal. And I can't recall meeting a nicer, easier to talk to person right from the second we met. Ladies and gentlemen, the one they call Thunder Trucker, Frank Ferrer. How you doing, Frank?
Hey, Steve, how are you? That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, hey, man, I mean it all. I mean it all.
Sweet. That's sweet.
Right when we first met, I'm trying to remember if we first met at the Stone Pony in Jersey, or was it at the show we played with you guys?
No, we first met at the Stone Pony, I believe so. You guys have played with us in Buffalo. Remember that gig?
Yeah,
it was freezing, like in June or something. But it was freezing out. And I missed you guys because we were getting to the gig and it was super cold outside, so we didn't stand outside. But then I got turned on to you guys, and I loved your music. And then I think we played another gig together. It was in
Quebec
Europe
City
somewhere, right?
No, it was in Quebec City.
It was in Quebec City.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we must have met there.
Yeah. Well, I can never. It all whatever. But either way, yeah. I remember, man. You're such a great dude from the second I met you, man.
Sweet. That's sweet.
So now, growing up, was your family musical, and were they supportive of you being into music?
Growing up, my father was actually a Latin percussionist. He moved from Cuba. My parents are Cuban. He moved to Cuba to New York City in the 50s to play some music, and it was kind of cool. He was a great percussionist from what I understand, because by the time that I became aware, he had quit. So I saw him play a couple of times in my life, maybe 2 or 3 times. But by the time that I was already like, I don't know how old, but I was already aware of that my dad was a musician. He had already quit playing music. So there was music in my house. My house was very musical, but it definitely wasn't. They didn't discourage me, right, but I wasn't exactly encouraged. My parents were really poor. Obviously, we grew up really poor. So it was very, education and going to school and having a profession was like the number one thing in the household. Right. They didn't really want me to play music. But, I got my...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I got my dad's genes, my dad's DNA, so... Yeah. It was in the blood,
Well, I was going to say, is there more of like a New York or a Cuban influence present in like the music, food, and culture that you grew up with there?
Oh, Cuban, 100%.
Yeah. There's a big...
There wasn't a lot of Cubans in Manhattan. Most of the Cubans on the East Coast were like in either Florida, or a lot of them moved to Jersey for some strange reason. I don't know why. But for some reason, my parents wanted to be in Manhattan on the island.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Mm. So you must have played on the Sunset Strip in its heyday, I would assume.
Well, I wouldn't say heyday. I mean, I didn't get to the first time we played in LA on Sunset. I know on Hollywood Boulevard at Raji's was the first time I played in LA. I don't know if you know this club called Raji's.
No.
It was kind of like the CBGBs of Hollywood.
Okay.
And we played there. I think it was 1988. We played there.
Wow.
So I want to say that it was to me, like I think when I think of the Sunset Strip, I think of obviously the early 80s, and the punk rock scene. Yeah. Obviously, that scene. Yeah. So we were after that,
Okay. So now what were the big differences between playing in that scene and playing in the New York scene?
What was the big difference?
Were there big differences? There must have been.
Not too much. It's a little bit of a long story. All right, so the New York scene was great. I mean, obviously, every great band that ever existed played a gig in New York City. I got to see everybody in New York City playing tiny places, from Madison Square Garden to CBGBs and everything in between. I saw bands everywhere, right? So there was like a drummer that I loved, or I got to see them everywhere. And even if they were big, many times I saw a band play, or a band will play Madison Square Garden, and then later that night, they'll play a club, so you can go see them at the Limelight or the Cat Club, wow, something like that. So the New York City, it was amazing. Everybody played there. When like the hair metal stuff started happening in LA, a lot of New York City bands moved to LA. White Zombie moved, and Circus of Power moved, and Princess Pang moved. A lot of people moved to LA. So there was a lot of New York influence in the LA scene. So I guess maybe the major difference was that by that time, LA had a doper punk scene than we had here. What was going on in New York City towards the later 80s was more of the hardcore scene. That thing was really getting big in New York. All those kind of bands. All the punk rock bands, Ramones or Blondie or Talking Heads, they became like more like pop bands by the late 80s. So the only thing I would say probably about LA, like LA had Jane's Addiction, for God's sakes. I mean, like come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So LA had a doper punk scene late 80s. We had a dope punk scene late 70s, early 80s. Later 80s, I think LA had a doper punk scene. So I think that would be the major difference. Okay. But New York was in, New York was kicking ass. You had the Pyramid Club, like the Nails played their first gig at the Pyramid Club. It fits like 22 people or something like that. Wow. Stuff like that was happening in New York all the time.
That's crazy. So in New York, in the early 90s, you joined the band Love Spit Love.
Right, that was like in 92, I believe. Right. Okay, I think it was 1992 I joined.
So that band featured Richard Butler from the Psychedelic Furs.
Right.
And Richard Fortas.
Right.
Who would eventually be in Axl's GNR with you, right? Now, this seems, I was just going to say, this seems like it was a pivotal kind of move in your career. Can you explain, what that was like and how that happened?
Sure, of course. So my band, The Beautiful, we were signed to Warner Brothers. We were on a tour. This would have been like 91 or 92. I can't remember exactly when. And they dropped us while we were out in LA. We were finishing shows in LA. We got dropped there. So we had to play a bunch of shows just to get back east. One of the shows was at this place called Mississippi Nights in St. Louis. I don't know if you guys ever got to play Mississippi Nights, It's close, but that was their CBGBs. St. Louis and CBGBs was missing. So we played there, and we opened up for this band called Pale Divine, which featured Richard Fortas. And we played first, and I saw Richard standing over to the left of the kit, standing off to the side of the stage, watching me play, and I didn't know who he was. And then I finished playing, and then I watched him play, and he was amazing. And I stood by his guitar amp because I couldn't believe what a great sound he was getting in this small club. He had this thing where he had the amp facing the back of the stage, Yeah. And I had never seen that before. So I thought it was insane. He gets off, we talk. I'm like, I think you're great. He's like, wow, I think you're great. And we talk and talk and talk. It's like, hey, okay, maybe we'll see you. Maybe I'll see you. No problem. The Beautiful makes its way back to New York. We, we're done. I go back to my regular job. Actually, on the road, when I found out that we got dropped, I called up my boss. And I was like, hey, should be back home in a week. Put me on the schedule. And he was like, you're on the schedule. I went right back to work. I was selling shoes and boots on St. Mark's Place, right across the street from Trash in Broadville in New York City. And I'm closing up the store one night, and Fortas walks right by the store. He walks right, and I look at him, and he looks at me, and I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey. And we start to talk. So happens that right across the street from St. Mark's Leather, which was the boot store that I was working at, Richard Butler lived there, and Richard was staying with Butler because they were writing songs for a new band they were getting together.
Wow!
And dude, it was just like that. And then they were like, we're writing, and we're gonna have to look for a drummer like in 6 or 7 months. And I'm like, dude, I'm here, come by. I'm selling shoes. Give me a call. And about a year later, they called me up. I guess this would have been like 93 probably. They called me up. I auditioned a couple times and I got the gig. Wow. And then we went into came to LA and recorded a record with Dave Jordan, who did the Nothing Shocking record, and Allison Chains Dirt, stuff like that. So
wow, that's cool how that worked out. Wow.
Yeah. So and it was all because I just stopped and said to Richard, hey man, I think you're a slamming guitar player. I thought he was great, and I wanted to say hello. I thought you were great. And 2 years later, we're playing. 2 years later, we've played together for the last 25 years or something like that.
So Richard Butler, you ended up playing in the Psychedelic Furs,
right?
With him when they kind of got going again.
Yeah, like in early 2000s.
And then Fortas played a little bit in that band, right? And then he left to go to GNR.
Exactly.
Then he called you along. I guess, right now.
Him and Tommy Stinson, the bass player at the time from the Replacements.
Right.
And I had played with Tommy on some of his solo stuff whenever he came through New York. Tommy would hire local musicians where he would come into town when he would do a tour. So he'd come to the New York area, I would get a phone call and I'd go play with them. So yeah, those guys, gave me a ring.
So when you first got the call, that GNR gig wasn't expected to be long term, right?
I was just sitting in for Brain. It was supposed to be like 3 months. Okay. Brain was his wife was having a kid, so when did you find out? She needed him to come back home. I'm sorry.
When did you find out that it was going to be more than just that? And what was your reaction?
Okay. So I did that summer tour for Brain, and then Brain actually came back. So Brain played a few shows. That summer tour ended like in late July or something, or early August. late September, Brain is playing shows with Guns again. And then I got a phone call like in October from Brain asking me if I was available and that he wanted to stay home with us. He didn't want to do another, because that next tour was a long one, like 8 weeks. He didn't want to do another long run.
Right.
So he was asking, hey, do you want to like jump on this? And I was saying, and at that point, it still wasn't permanent. Brain was still technically the drummer of the band, but it was quite clear that Brain didn't want to tour anymore.
Right,
you know.
Right. Okay.
He was also producing and scoring at this point too. So
okay, cool.
He was able to make a living and enjoy staying home too. So around October of 2006, around then, late September, early October 2006, I found out that I was going to be back in the band, and of course, I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing. They played Madison Square Garden on that tour. The reason I played drums is because my dad took me to go see Kiss at the Garden. You know,
that must have been surreal.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah. So okay. So what was the initial vibe then when you started playing with Axl's GNR? Like it seemed like it was a wide array of different musicians from different backgrounds and somewhat of a revolving door some of the time. Was everyone in that band always kind of on the same page, or was it kind of very segregated, or what was it like?
I would say that everybody in that band at that time was part of the Chinese Democracy record.
Okay.
So it was very Chinese Democracy record heavy. Obviously, we played all the old songs too, but that band was really geared and prepared for the newer stuff, you know.
Right.
It was okay. So Brain told me, he gave me a great piece of advice. Brain sat me down like for 2 hours when I first got the gig and just gave me the ins and outs, which was amazing. He did not have to do that. I thank him for that every day. You know, he gave me a lot of insight. You know, and one thing that he said to me is like the only way you could wrap your head around this, you know, because basically Guns N' Roses is 3 eras. You know, they have Adler's era, they had Storm's era, and then they have Brain / Josh Freese era. You know, so he was like, the only way you're going to be able to wrap your head around this is Brain's advice, was to make it your own as much as possible. Wow. And I took that to heart, you know. So I played. I tried to play at that point. Obviously, the Chinese Democracy stuff, I tried to play it more true to form, more like Brain did, obviously. But with the older stuff, I try to play somewhere in between Adler and Sorum. You know, Adler's punk rocky off the rails feel combined with Sorum's solid, you know, steady kind of thing. I was trying to be somewhere in between. It was difficult though. It took me a really long time. And then once Slash and Duff got in, I had to kind of like throw that all out the window and start from scratch again, because obviously Slash and Duff have a different feel for their own music. So I had to actually relearn almost everything that I had, as far as the older stuff goes, not so much as Chinese Democracy stuff, but the Illusions and the acoustic record and the first album. I had to almost relearn everything to the feel that we have now.
Like are you talking about like little nuances here and there, or like
sure.
Fills that you would maybe taken liberties with, or
mostly feel, because again, the Chinese Democracy era was more, the only way I could put it, it's more had a studio drummer kind of feel to it.
Right.
More quote unquote professional drummer feel to it, where the older stuff was more of a punk rocky rock feel to it, which is completely different. I mean, and it's funny because naturally I would be more of that drummer. I'd be more of the punk rocky, you know, looser, time wavering type of drummer usually, but you know, I had to change my whole mindset when I joined the band, because Chinese Democracy and everything was onto a click and everything was tight, and Axl really loved the drum parts. He wanted to hear certain drum parts. So I had to retrain my brain to try to have some way make it. I hate to use these words because they sound negative. Make it looser, you know.
No, I know
make the stuff looser. Yeah. It was too stiff for Duff and Slash when they first came in. The feel was too stiff, you know.
It gives it more of a natural feel, right?
Right. Yeah. No. Definitely. I mean, definitely. You know. again, Brain is an amazing drummer. There's a lot of kick pattern, in the Chinese democracy stuff, where in the gun stuff, there's a lot less kick pattern. And then I was playing it more funkier, had more notes. My drumming had more notes in it.
Okay.
I had to take more notes out of my drumming when Slash and Duff came
Right. Oh, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so... Okay, moving away from that for a second.
Sure.
No, I
don't even get too technical. I'm never technical.
No, I mean, I could talk about it literally all day, but I got to keep other people in mind too here. So there's this story I have when it was the first time we opened up for Deep Purple. And we were playing at Massey Hall in Toronto. You know that venue?
I don't think so.
It's a really iconic venue. It's like 2,200 seats. Deep Purple show there. It was crazy. Right. And it was my first time in Massey Hall, legendary venue, playing with Deep Purple, legendary band who inspired us to start. And I got caught up in the moment, and we were playing this song that we were still developing. And at this big apex of the song, I started a roll somehow with the wrong hand, and I got to the end of the roll, and I just because the opposite hand was, and I just kind of in that scenario, I had such a brain fart. Has something like that ever happened to you? Where you I think it was the fact that I got inside my own head on the situation. You know what I mean? So has that ever happened to you where you've kind of got so much inside your own head that?
Yeah, of course.
And what do you do to combat it when that happens? Like,
what do I do? I mean, play it off like nothing. That wasn't me. I look around. Yeah. Duff and I have this funny thing. Like whenever one of us hits a clam, we always like look at the guitar player like.
Never make the face like.
Yeah. No, I mean, something like that gets you back. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to something just like that gets you back. And you're like, fuck, and you're like, oh, dude, one time, and I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. I took a major shit at the top of fucking You Could Be Mine. Really? I took a shit on that. It's probably on YouTube somewhere. I stick went flying. I had to restart it. And the axle goes on. I'm like, whoa, Frank is having a rough gig.
Oh, man. Just throws you under the bus.
Yeah. He'd be like, ah! Look at that idiot.
Oh, man.
No, I mean, it's fucking rock and roll, man. Yeah. I'm reading the Deborah Harry book, and she said that the Ramones would stop playing in the middle of a song and start getting in a fight. Like, you fucked up. That was a bum note. Can you just imagine that?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? I think it's rock and roll, man. It's if you know what I'm saying. I mean, at one point we're like larger than life, Freddie Mercury, David Bowie, but on the other side of the coin, we're fucking the Ramones and AC/DC. It's fucking jeans, t-shirts, and balls out.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make a mistake.
I think audiences can find mistakes endearing because it kind of humanizes these people who are up there that they're holding on such a pedestal.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. I mean, you go on YouTube and you listen to all your favorite bands. You can always find some fucking singing the wrong lyrics. I mean, it's just. It's part of the thing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, obviously, inside you feel like the back wall just fell on you, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But out to the rest of the world, everybody's like,
I love that guy. Yeah. Okay, so my personal dream fill-in job would be filling in for Brad Wilk of Rage Against the Machine, of course.
Oh shit, I was just with him a couple of weeks ago.
No shit.
Yeah, he's fucking awesome. Yeah, we went to and saw the Ace. He played at the Bon Scott tribute out here.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, so it was great.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so what's your dream fill-in that you haven't had?
I kind of gave it away just there. Phil Rudd.
Oh, yeah.
I would play an AC/DC like a motherfucker. God damn, I love that drummer and I love that band.
Oh, well, you know what? You're like... A different member of your band got asked to play with them. Maybe they're just gonna keep pulling members.
Right.
Over,
That would be right. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad Phil is back. Obviously, yeah. I mean, Phil is. I mean, I think he's back. I mean, from what the rumors are, I've seen online. But no, I mean Axel. I mean it's funny because I knew Axel would nail the Bon Scott stuff. Him and I talk about Bon Scott all the time. But to hear him nail the Brian Johnson stuff, that was pretty. Shoot to Thrill and Thunderstruck. I was like, whoa. Yeah. He killed the Brian Johnson stuff.
Yeah, I gotta say, he did a fantastic job doing that.
It's my band, dude. I'm telling you. It's my band.
Nice. Okay, so we've lost a lot of iconic musicians in recent years. Which one hit you the hardest and why?
Whew. You know, I saw that. I saw that question, and you know, it's weird. I mean, we've lost a couple of local from the virus. A couple of local guys in New York that no one's ever heard of that were pretty influential. I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, because there's a lot of people, you know, that
well, you know what, and it can be someone like you said who was pivotal in a scene that you were in that maybe isn't, you know, known worldwide. That.
Well, I mean, there was, I'm just bringing this up because it just happened yesterday. This New York City fashion guru named Jimmy Webb passed away yesterday. He wasn't a musician, but he was very rock and roll and influential, you know.
Yeah.
He didn't pass away from the virus though, but he did pass away yesterday. I mean, he's been on my mind a lot. Again, he wasn't a musician, but he managed Trash at Vaudeville on St. Mark's Place, and then he's opened up his new place. And he sold clothes to every single living rock star or anybody that's ever put on a guitar from like 1980 something to now, you know.
Wow.
So I mean, there's a lot of people, and you know, it's difficult because we could sit here and have this conversation for a long. At any time that we lose an artist, whatever he is, a musician or a painter, it definitely takes away. We don't have enough of people like us that will blood, sweat, and tears. That this is the most important thing. There's a lot of people that do it now, but it's not the most important thing. And every time we lose one of those guys, you know, I mean, I've been listening to tons of Bowie lately, and I mean, and I adore Freddie Mercury, and I miss Prince. Never got to see Prince play, you know. That's you know, it's difficult.
That's a good way of putting it. You know, not everyone in this world is driven to create, you know.
Right.
And that creativity is what, you know, can really, really have huge positive effects on people everywhere, you know.
I think artists are like if you're looking at paint by numbers, you know, regular life is the design and the you know, this color goes there, this colors go there, but artists are the actual colors. We put you know, musicians and artists and actors, they put color into our lives, you know. It would be black and white if it wasn't for it.
That's a cool way of putting it. So then on that note, what's your biggest passion outside of music? Like, are you artistic in other ways as well?
Believe it or not, I am not. You know, my kids are kind of grown now, but for a long time, my hobby, like quote unquote hobby, was being with my kids growing up. So, you know, I go out, play music too and stuff like that. And then when I come home, I'd be full on Mr. Mom, you know.
I'm kind of
picking
at that
them up
point
from
myself.
After school and stuff like that. I'm sorry?
Yeah, I'm kind of at that point myself a little bit now.
Not since this quarantine, we were supposed to be on tour this whole time. Since this quarantine, and my kids are back east, I've been thinking about that a lot. How I need to have a hobby because I actually don't have a hobby, you know.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like I was talking to you earlier. My kid's 2.5, so I don't really have time for a hobby right now. But I could see, you know, like it's not often that you're given this time to hole up in your house and with nothing to do. So, you know, to have some outlet would be good. You know?
Totally. I mean, obviously, I've started taking long walks and stuff like that because I have to like try to get some sleep. But you know, whenever I was home, you know, my son and I, we had a love for comic books, superheroes, that kind of stuff. You know. We, you know, and then and my daughter loves music, so we you know, it'd be music with my kid. You know, we'd be doing, you know, watching music or listening to music, watching music videos.
Cool.
I'm gonna have to develop a hobby, but as of right now, I don't have one. I mean, I go and play drums every day. I still get up in the mornings and play drums every day.
Are you a sports fan?
I'm sorry?
Are you a sports fan? Are you missing sports?
You know, this is the only way I can answer this question. I love the Knicks. I only watch the Knicks. I won't watch any other basketball team, and I won't watch any other sport. So I'm not, quote unquote, a sports fan. I just love the Knicks. They've been I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, even though Spike Lee is now
off,
and
I know they've been horrible for a long time. They've been horrible. But that's the only thing. That's the only thing that I take time out to go like, hey, there's a Knick game on. I'm gonna go home and watch that. Cool. But I it's half and half. Do I miss the Knicks? I love the Knicks. It's so New York for me. It brings back amazing memories every time I see the blue and orange. Actually, my house is painted blue and orange. Yeah. But they've been so horrible, dude. I don't miss watching them get beat down every day.
I'm a Leafs fan, and that's what my life's been basically since I was born.
A what fan?
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that's kind of they're getting better now, but I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
Right.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to wrap this up with one last question. And I'm sure you get this all the time, but I really like hearing different people's answers on this.
Sure.
What would a piece of advice be for someone who wants to pursue music as a livelihood?
Well, it's so different now if you want to be a musician. I mean, it's so different now. There's no places to play, and everybody does everything on their computer. I mean, 10 years ago, I would have told a musician, especially a drummer, play with everybody. Don't turn down gigs when you're starting. Play with everyone. That's how I did it. 20 years ago, 25 years ago. That's how I did it. Because I knew that someone will see me, or I would see the right band, that we would connect. Yeah. How to do it today, man? I have no earthly idea, to be honest with you. I don't know. I know my daughter and I talk about, she's more obviously hooked into the internet and the whole social media thing, and everything is done on Instagram and YouTube, and we try to get it put on a couple times, like doing covers. She do a cover of a song and put it on YouTube, because when somebody Googles the song, the cover pops up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I have no idea what. I mean, the only thing I could say, if my kid asked me that, the only thing I would say is like, do it for one reason, because you love it. You can't live without it. It's the only thing that makes you happy. If do it for that reason. Don't do it because you're gonna get paid, or you're gonna get put on, or you're gonna make 9 out of 10 times that's not gonna happen. But you're gonna enjoy playing the music, enjoy writing music. I mean, love it. If you like it, then it's a hobby.
Yeah.
Then do it on the side. But if you want to do it and you want to make it, you gotta, your skin has to be this thick, and you have to love it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can say.
It's a long and hard road, and if you don't love it, you're not gonna want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you're in Toronto. I've been into this Professor Jordan Peterson. Do you know him?
No.
Yeah, he teaches in Toronto. He's a teacher professor in Toronto, and he talks about about hierarchies, But he says this wonderful thing about how tough it is to be a working musician. That only a small fraction of the smallest fraction actually get to make it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just 1% of everything. So if you want to play music, you got to remember that 99% of the time, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to really, really love it and do it for yourself, That's the only thing I can say.
I like that answer, Frank. I like that.
Cool.
Awesome, man. Well, I got to thank you so much for taking time to chat. It's great.
You bet, Steve.
Great catching up with you, man. And
my pleasure, man. I hope we keep in touch, man. It's nice to talk to you.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you again soon, all right, man?
All right, good luck with Royal.
Thanks, man.
Peace.
Take care.
And there you go. That's the interview. Huge shout out to Steve for landing that interview and for Frank for coming on. Man, some good shit in that interview. Really enjoyed that myself. I actually hadn't watched it yet. I just watched the beginning and the end and just like trim it up and make sure that it's all neat. And that was actually really fun for me to listen to. So there you go. I want to comment on a couple of things that were said in that interview because I just feel like there was so many good things touched upon, and then I almost wanted to keep stopping the interview and interjecting my own thoughts, which obviously would fucking suck for you watching it. But I just want to just mention a couple things here. What they were saying at the end there and what he said about playing music as a living, I thought was really, really awesome. The first thing that comes to mind when anyone asks me, how do I play music for a living or whatever? And this is something that I didn't know myself for many years of failure. Like I'm talking like 10 to 15 years of fucking around and failure and wondering why things weren't happening. And then all of a sudden when we started Monster Truck, things started happening really quickly. And that was when I learned what it was that worked for us and worked for me. Was I had to fall in love with my own band. Like I had to reach a point where I was just so blown away. Like I was so excited when we started Monster Truck. I was so in love with the music and so in love with the vibe of the band. And it was just like, it was like all of a sudden I didn't care whether we got popular or big or whatever, however you want to put it. It was like all of a sudden I was like, I don't give a fuck what happens with this band. I just want to keep playing in this band. And I remember having that like distinct thought, like I don't care what we do as long as we can keep playing music. And then of course after that everything happened. It was like one of those things that you like can't teach yourself. You have to just like, it has to happen, or you have to just be an incredibly insightful person and get the whole notion that you really need to be your own best fan. You need to be your own biggest fan. You need to love what you're doing, whether it's music or editing movies or painting or whatever it is. You really got to love it. And so, yeah, I thought that was great advice from Frank. Also, the stuff about AC/DC I thought was fantastic as well. Just because I always like, obviously take a lot of inspiration from Angus. And I don't know, everything they were saying about AC/DC always rings true with me. And I was also interested to hear what Frank had to say about Axl, because I remember when I heard Axl Rose was going to be playing in AC/DC, singing in AC/DC, and I was like, uh-oh, like, what the fuck, And then the first videos started coming in of him playing these shows, and he was fucking killing it. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if I'm just an asshole, but like, I didn't think he was going to do very good singing for AC/DC. And then I'm watching these videos and he's nailing it. So, thought that was neat. Anyways, I think that's going to wrap up this week's Tuesday episode. Fuck, I don't know what day of the week it is. Thanks for tuning into episode 10. Thanks for Frank for coming on. I'm going to throw to the title track off of me and Theo's side project, Beartaker. We just released it yesterday on iTunes and, I guess it's called Apple Music now, Spotify. It's available for streaming now. The link will be in the description. I hope you guys enjoy the new tunes, and we'll see you on Thursday. I don't really know who we got on deck. We got Gus Van Gogh, the guy who recorded our first Monster Truck EP. We're going to have him on Thursday and talk to him a little bit more about making music in Brooklyn. Enjoy the time. See you later.